It's me, the Matrix Refugee, on July the 23rd. It's almost 10 days since my last vlog. uh, I got a little busy between work and whatnot, so I'm not exactly vlogging, or at least I didn't exactly have the spoons to put together a vlog between one thing or another. I had a lot of hours at work last week, and this week I had a lot of housework and doing other stuff. Friday of last week, my dad and I went to the Brimfield Antiques Flea Market, which was interesting. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, antiques flea market in Massachusetts. So that was fun to go to. It was interesting to see all kinds of cool stuff. You know, old furniture, not a whole lot in the way for old books, and unfortunately, quite a few of the ones that I saw were priced by people who knew what they were doing when when it comes to book selling. So it kind of put things a little bit out of my price range, which was unfortunate. But I did wind up, in the words of my dad, buying probably the oldest thing in the flea market, which was this little guy. If I can get him up to the camera. I think I might have him upside down, actually. No, maybe not. I think that is right side up. This, if you're wondering, is a trilobite fossil. This is, a Precambrian beastie that was crawling around on the ocean floors back when there wasn't a whole lot going for land, and most of the life that we did have on planet Earth was all in the ocean. So this guy is rather special. He's if I remember correctly from biology lessons, this thing is like the common ancestor that both vertebrates and invertebrates have. If I remember correctly, I probably got that wrong, but this guy is interesting. Intriguing little critter. Hold him up so you can see him a little better. I've been wanting to get one of these because they're just plain fascinating little things. And I'd seen some at other flea markets, but they usually had them priced up a bit. But I only got this guy for, I think it was like $8 or $10, and it was in amongst a bunch of other fossils. The guy that was selling them works for the telephone company here in the state, and he's always finding fossils. He's always finding stuff, so he's always knows where to find them, and he's able to put a reasonable price on them because he finds them. I'd say these are moderately common, but finding a good one like this is a little unusual. But so that was the one piece that I did get. I almost bought myself a boot knife though, because there was a guy that had some really handsome boot knives, and I was like, been meaning to get something or other as a means of self-protection, and now that I've let that out, I need to think of something else as a security option. Anyway, but interesting trip, and saw a lot of interesting, cool stuff. Browsed through some magazines. I think I actually saw some Weird Tales magazines, albeit from the 1940s, and unfortunately none with stories by you-know-who in it. Otherwise I would have snapped one up. But, well, what can you do? Anyway, but at least I know that we're, at least it's great to see that, an actual Weird Tales magazine, although it was priced a little slightly outside of my range, although I might have buckled and gone for it, but I don't know why I didn't. Maybe because it didn't have what I was hoping for in it. Oh well. But anyway, moving on. So that was Friday last week. Saturday is, from some of the vids that I posted Saturday night, my dad and I went up to visit Killian the Keat, see how he's doing. He's definitely growing into himself. He's starting to get to be a personable little bird. Actually, and as you could see, they had him in the cage with the other budgies, and getting to know them, and that was a sweet little experience. I mean, he's getting to be he's getting to be our little sweetheart already. Hasn't quite figured out how to sit on fingers, but I suppose he's still little and growing into himself. Sunday was a quiet day, and I needed a quiet day. Monday night we wound up going to the beach in Northampton. And I finally got my good walk in on the beach, because the last few times that we'd gone, the tide was way in, and that kind of cut down on the length of sand one side to the other that I was able to walk on. So Got a good walk in then, and it was a nice evening. It got rather warm here, but it wasn't too bad up there, and by the time we got back it had cooled off quite a bit, so nice to come home to things slightly more comfortable weather conditions. Tuesday I worked. Yesterday was housework. Today was errands. I don't say lots of errands, but bank stuff and picking up a few things at the store. Hopefully one of these days I can get in a day to write, because this is really bugging me. I mean, I've been able to write in the evening, but it's like evening I reserve, I probably should start scheduling stuff better, or start hanging a sign on the door, please do not disturb the horror writer. She will write you into the story. Maybe not. Oh. But most of the roleplay tags I've been writing lately, and I should be working on some of the writing projects. I did come up with a new story that I know. I should work on the stuff I've already got instead of working on new projects, but I kind of started jotting down stuff for... I think this is probably going to wind up becoming somewhat of a cosmic horror story, because it's going to eventually involve some kind of chaos entity. No idea right now if it's going to be Nyarlathotep or not, but something or other. So, this is one of those stories that I have to come right out and admit that I got the idea for it from a family friend and a malapropism. We met one of my mom's pen pals, and she's kind of become somewhat of a family friend now. Well, at least until she moved away, further away from us. But anyway, long story. We met her a few times. One of the times we got talking about summer stuff and whatnot, and she started talking about fond memories of vacationing with her folks and going to Cannibal Lake Park, aka Cannibal Lake Park in Windham, New Hampshire. And I almost corrected her when I thought, okay, don't correct your elders. And she said it again. She said it like 3 times in the course of the conversation. So, of course, and mind you, this was a few years back. So, I wasn't quite entirely into the whole horror thing yet, but my brain was starting to go into horror directions when I hear weird stuff, so... The more... It's like that kind of sat in the back of my mind, and more recently it came... Thanks to the fact that we had free passes, or... discount passes, I think, actually. Anyway, some kind of coupons for Cannibal Lake Park in displays at my store where I work, and I was staring at them one day, slightly bored, in between orders, and my mind was like, oh yeah, Cannibal Lake Park. That's a story that needs to be told, so... Started jotting down ideas for right then and there, even because it was a lull. I was bored. I had my one of my little writing notebooks in my pocket of my work smug, so I just pulled it out and started, doodly-doing things down. Of course, the cashier says, "Oh, you're writing a new story?" And I said, "I just started writing a new story." So I told her a little bit about it. She said, "Oh, I'd read it," which is nice to hear. It's like the name suggests, and that's going to be the title of it. It's going to be kind of a play on, like, 80s horror movie tropes with, the bunch of teenagers going off, somewhere. In this case, it's going to be an abandoned amusement park, because I like abandoned amusement parks. They're so creepy! I have an abandoned miniature golf place around the corner from my house, and that place is strange. It's like, vines growing over the things, and now they look like green monsters. Anyway, so, I'm also going to combine it with, like, kids that have watched Scooby-Doo or those 9,000 Ghost Hunter shows that are popular on cable these days. Kids that have watched that a little too much, and it's like, oh, let's go do some ghost hunting in the creepy abandoned amusement park where there's 9,000 strange stories about, including rumors that there are cannibals hiding there, hence the name. So, I just gotta come up with a name for the amusement park that is not going to land me in trouble with the company that owns the amusement park near Cannibal Lake and New Hampshire, because that's, as I found out in a rather odd way, that is a registered trademark. The way I found this out, there's an episode of Fringe, the TV show, which is largely set in the New England area. Well, not when they're not in New York City, but started out in Boston, based in the Boston area, which was really had me intrigued since I live north and west of Boston. There was one scene where they were tracking whatever the troublemakers were, tracking them to, quote, an amusement park in Windham, New Hampshire, unquote. And I was like, is that Canterbury Lake Park? So, of course, because I couldn't remember where exactly Canterbury Lake Park is. Now I'm saying it. So I couldn't remember where exactly it was. It's actually on the Salem-Windham line in between the two towns, but, you know, they said Windham, New Hampshire, so I looked it up and I'm like, oh, hello. So apparently you can't use the actual name in your thing, or you get in trouble for trademark use, but okay. I can find lawyer-friendly ways to get around that. That's part of being creative. Even when you're snitching ideas from real life or whatever, you know? Anyway. So, I don't exactly say that's my current project, but that's the one that's kind of in the back of my... That's one that's kind of in the back of my head, so... You know, something that I'm tinkering with just a little bit, and, you know, when I'm not working on the other two, when the other two get to be, well, the one in particular, the birds, what I'm calling the Birds of Ulthar, that's not its actual title, but that's the brain title for it. That's what I think of it as. When that gets a little too intense, I have these other two stories to work on. Although they do, I have been told that, you know, when you're wrapping up one project, it's a good idea to have at least one or two other ideas to work on. So, you know, when you're getting the one story out and about and trying to get it to a publisher, that you have something else to work on so you can get that one out the door eventually, and, you know, I don't have to say keep chugging them out, but just something like that. So in that case, on that note, I'm going to end this here and get back to work, get back onto the writing board. So that's the way it was today.